Hello everyone and welcome to Stan the Wine Man TV. I am your host, Stan Rattan, and this is the Blue Collar Wine Show, where we want you to remember that wine is not a mystery, it's just a beverage. And today I'm joined by Mike Burns. Mike, thanks for coming.
Absolutely, Stan. Thanks for having me.
Mike is the sales manager for Dickerson Distributing up in Bellingham, Washington. Mike and I go way, way back.
How many years has it been, Stan?
It's been 30 years.
30?
Over
Yeah.
30 years. I've known Mike. Mike's worked, started off, I first met him, he worked for Skagit Distributing with Bob
Fiedler?
Fiedler.
Yep.
And then, you said you went over to...
Tell
him what...
So I've been in the business about 30-some years. Spent almost 25 years with Skagit Distributors. Then I moved, they sold their business, and I moved to, quick jump to Radin, which is a large distributor in Seattle, Washington. They were purchased by Columbia Distributors. Went there, moved on to Friendly Distributors, all within about a year and a half, and then since then I've been with Dickerson Distributors for about the remaining time. So looking forward to this challenge, Stan.
Yeah. So we were talking one day and Mike told me about a new product line they had called Wild Meadows, which is owned by Precept.
That's right.
Precept Wines. And he said they did a blind tasting at their workplace and Wild Meadows beat out 14 hands in the blind challenge with most of the sales group that were there. So I said, well, wouldn't it be kind of fun to see how it goes between you and I? You and I do this thing. Let's, taste them blind. So I had somebody, we numbered the bags, I had somebody else put them all together, and so we have a Chardonnay, a Merlot, a Cab, and a red blend, and we don't know which one is behind what bag. So we have a piece of paper. We're not going to take a huge amount of time, but we're going to taste them, we're going to score them. I do an A through F system. How do you score your wines?
I'll just do a score it by number.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then in the end we'll see which ones I like the best, which ones Mike liked the best, see if we agree, see if we disagree. We don't mind disagreeing. We're big boys, right?
That's right.
All right. So let's get started. We're doing the Chardonnay first. We have no idea. Let's do a little rinse. Get anything bad out of the glass. So 14 hands is, and probably most of you know what 14 hands is. If you don't live in Washington State, it's probably one of the biggest brands by St. Michel, probably in the wine category. Their Hot to Trot Red Blend is just a huge success at my store.
Absolutely, it has to be one of the most successful brand rollouts in the recent years, that's for sure. The company did a very good job of putting that brand together.
Yeah.
It's very, very successful.
And forgot to put the tablecloth, so let's do our little... They always tell me it's too noisy on the... In front of the tablecloth. So I get a lot of pears on this one. A lot of pears on the nose.
Bright fruit, I would say.
Not super aromatic, but very interesting. So, fairly golden in color.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's not. It's pretty clear, but you can see the gold edges on it. So I would say not a huge amount of oak treatment on this one.
I would agree with you on that. Yep.
I'm getting an interesting...
I like the freshness of the wine, though. Whichever one this is, it's just...
That's got good balance. It's not super oaky. I would say it has a little bit of oak treatment on it. I get a lot of pears. I'm getting pears all day with a little bit of apple on it. I'm getting an interesting juicy fruit gum component on it, which is really interesting. Not bazooka, but like juicy fruit.
Okay, yeah.
with that pear and apple. So it's like maybe a juicy fruit pear stick, you know, tastes like pear. Really light. It's very light on the palate. I think a lot of people would like it because it's not a heavier style Chardonnay. It's light, but it's not funky in any way. I mean, it's got
there's very nice.
There's good balance. Yeah. I mean, I don't think a lot of people would say juicy fruit, but that's what I'm getting out of it. Honestly, that's what I'm getting. So I'm going to give it a grade. Okay. You got yours figured out, Mike?
I think so.
All right. Just a tiny rinse, just in case you got some different flavor profile. You like that? Profile. So I had a little thing that happened in my life that kind of altered it a little bit. And the first guy to call me to ask me how I was doing was Mike. I really appreciated that. It was a big deal in my life, and actually it turned out really good, but I didn't know it was going to turn out good when it happened. But it ended up.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah, you were the first guy to call me. I really appreciate it. I'll never forget that. This one definitely has more oak on it. I mean, that seemed to jump out at me right away. Not a lot more, but definitely it seems to be more oaky than the other one.
You notice a little different fruit in the nose?
Yeah, oh yeah. I'm not getting pear. In fact, I don't get a lot of it. It's either a little touch lighter, which is interesting. Maybe about the same, would you say, maybe? Mm-hmm. Pretty close. Mm-hmm. This one is not, to me, is not nearly as aromatic as the other one, and the other one was challenged. Now, I think the 14 hands rolls in at $14.50 a bottle. Okay. Across the board. They call that line pricing. In other words, all their wines, red, white, are all the same price. They call that, in our nomenclature, line pricing. Do they line price
They do. All four of them are the same price as well.
Okay.
A little bit less money than that. I think they're about $12.99.
$12.99, $13,
yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I get there's a spicy character coming through on the nose a little bit. Almost like I get like a mintiness. See, I don't like it when a wine's hard to pick out. There's got to be something there, right?
Yeah. Definitely a different finish on this wine as opposed to the last one.
Okay, I'm going to give it a whirl. Okay, yeah, this is more on the apple side for sure. I get a lot of apple on this one. It doesn't go in the pear direction. Yeah, it's excuse me just a minute. I'm going to give you a little piece of paper to swish your glass on. Thank you. So I don't have to hear about the noisy. It's creamy too on the. I get a lot of creaminess on the back end. A lot of apple.
Yeah.
I don't think the finish has got a little bit of an interesting kind of a. There's more to the finish. It like hangs around a little bit. It's like.
I would agree with that. The palate just hangs on your palate a little longer, doesn't it? Yeah.
It's got the same kind of balance as the other one. It's certainly a nice clean Chardonnay. There's not a lot of oak on it. But I think there is more oak, and that's why you're getting that. I get that oaky kind of toastiness on the back end. I think that's what that is. Interesting. But neither one of them I'd call oak bombs by any stretch.
Absolutely not. No, they definitely feature the fruit.
Yeah, so these Chardonnays are built for more of a broader spectrum of audience. They're not going specifically to oak-driven or non-oak-driven wines, unoaked Chardonnay. So, very interesting. Let's move on. Now we're into the Cabernet. Somebody go, why are you pouring Cab before the Merlot or the blends? You usually go from the driest to the sweetest wine whenever you're tasting. Your palate adjusts that way. If you go to the other way, the dry seems too dry. A little rinse? That's not a little rinse, it's a big rinse. And by the way, it's a good thing that we are doing this right now because we are killing some wines with horses on the label. And the Seahawks just kicked Denver's butt yesterday in the Super Bowl. It was awesome. So we're killing a bunch of bottles of wine. Well, I don't want to be that dramatic. But we're taking care of some bottles of wine with horses on them.
Boy, the Seahawks got it done, didn't they?
They
yesterday?
did.
That was a fun game to watch.
It was.
If you were a Seahawk.
Yeah. Yeah, like I was telling Mike, if you weren't a Seahawk fan, that had to be a terrible game. If you didn't have any team that you were rooting for, it probably was pretty boring because it was as lopsided as you can get.
Yeah.
Okay. Now this one has a nose on it. I'm getting a little like green, like tomato stem thing, a little herbaceousness on the nose. Currants and tomato stem, that's what I'm getting. Which isn't a bad thing, as you guys know, as watching the show. Herbaceousness isn't a bad thing about a wine. In fact, sometimes it's a very positive aspect of a wine.
Actually, that's very vegetable, isn't it? Be interested to see what this wine does as it opens up a little bit.
I've had them open for 3 hours.
Yeah?
Yeah. Well, that's not a huge amount of time. But yeah, it's a little tight on the finish.
Yeah.
I get some tightness, but nice big plump fruit on the front. I mean, it's not like over the top. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm not getting like a lot of flabbiness. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's stuff there, but it's definitely. It's got a little bit of a tannic grip on the back end. I can definitely get some tannic on the back end. A solid food wine.
That's what I was going to say. The exact word I was thinking, Stan, is a little bit of grip. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But there's a nice fruit up front. The grip on the backside tells me that this probably needs a steak or something.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll show nicely with.
But yeah, it's getting
a
that
nice meal.
I'm getting that kind of green tobacco thing on the back end.
Yeah.
Interesting.
A little different.
It's definitely not. How would you say it? It's not going to be
almost a leatheriness.
Yeah, there's a leatheriness. Yeah. It goes almost Bordeaux-ish on you a little bit, which is kind of curious. All right, number 4. We're moving right along. I told Mike we're going to have to do this somewhat quicker because we have 8 wines to go through. We'll rinse. Yeah, Mike's the first beer guy I ever met that was probably more into wine. Most beer guys don't get that excited about wine, but Mike's always been excited about the wine world.
I've always enjoyed wine, and I've always really enjoyed the Washington industry as well. I think that the Washington wine industry is still getting discovered by a lot of people. You know.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I will say that I will sit down with anyone that's got a Casa Robles Cabernet with them, but I love that area.
you like the bigger style, big shoulders.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
a little strength in it.
Now this one has a very fruit forward nose. I'm almost getting a brown sugar component on this one, on the nose.
Much different, isn't it?
Oh, that's huge! This is like toasted marshmallows almost.
Different wine here.
Yeah, entirely different. This is. If in a blind lineup, I wouldn't be afraid to say 3 could pass for a European style wine. Mm-hmm. This has New World all over the nose. I mean, it's got big fruit,
Yeah, very soft.
A lot of black currants. Okay, let's see what we got on the palate. Boy, that's soft.
It is. Very.
This is a kind of a, it's not flabby. In other words, it's got enough, barely enough acidity to keep it, the structure okay, I think. But it's still pretty soft for a Cabernet. I mean,
I think, you know, I think this wine, if you were sitting around just having a glass of wine, it'd be very pleasant. I feel like that the first Cabernet that we tried might be a little bit more of a nicer food wine. It's got a little more strength to it, I guess,
Yeah.
a little bit more structure possibly, a little bit different finish on it.
yeah,
it's just
exactly.
two different-
There's more
different wines,
interesting.
isn't it? Yeah.
It was more interesting than this one. This one is just like, okay, here you go, big nose, and then just, I don't get a lot of layers throughout the palate. It's just smooth, delicious sort of wine. But what I don't like about it, for me, is it lacks acidity. I mean,
on the finish.
Or even through the mid palate. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
it's just enough to keep it going, but it's not enough to. I mean, it's just a swap. Like you said, it's a cocktail wine.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, I'm just not feeling it on this one. For me, that's for me. I'm not speaking for Mike. He can speak for himself. He's a big boy. I don't
Too
mean
big, actually.
no. Yeah, I was happy to see Smith get the most valuable player, a linebacker. They had to give it to somebody on defense because the defense just rocked it.
Yeah.
What, three touchdowns by defense?
I think so. They scored quite a few points, that's for sure.
Yeah, fumble recovery touchdown. Yeah, I don't know if it was three, but yeah, it was.
And to be able to disrupt a player like Peyton Manning,
I know.
you know, to me that says something.
And he still completed 30 some passes.
Yeah.
I mean, and their wide receiver, I can never remember his name. He set a record, I think 88 or whatever. I wish I could remember. I knew we were talking about it today. He set a record for receptions in a Super Bowl, 12, and nobody will ever remember that.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, so now we're on to the Merlot. Okay, this Merlot has a very, very similar nose to the last cab we tasted. Maybe not quite as ramped up, which you would expect the difference between a cab and a Merlot. But I'm still getting kind of that brown sugar spice thing on the nose. And some currants thrown in there.
It is very, very similar, isn't it? In terms of weight and softness, I think. What fruit are you getting out of that on the palate, Stan?
I'm getting a lot of cherries.
Cherries?
Yeah, a lot of cherries with a little back edge of currants. I'm getting a little bit of black licorice. This is I actually like this one better than the cab. I'm guessing that number 5 is the same producer as number 4. I mean, just the style is so close.
I think you're
right. But the
right.
Merlot is actually, in my opinion, better. It's got, you get a little grip on the back end. There's a more serious, which is interesting.
No, I would enjoy this wine right here with a piece of prime rib. You know, some comfort food type thing.
A little meatloaf.
There you go. Yeah.
It's got a spiciness on the back end too.
Yeah.
It's the same profile. This is very interesting because it's the same exact flavor profile, but the Merlot is much more structured, has better acidity. It has a nice finish, a little leather, like you were talking about. A little bit of a grip from tannic, which you wouldn't expect that. Merlot versus Cab. But
a beautiful dense color on that.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It's pretty nice. Yeah, it's pretty dark. Got that nice garnet. No, yeah, it's nice and dark, but it's really bright. I mean, it's got some sweet tannins, but that being said, I mean, I like it much better if it is the same producer as number 4.
Yeah, that'll be fun to see when we get there.
But I think this just has more going for it overall. All right. You know what Mike and I are going to be doing after this?
That's right.
Drinking some wine.
Well, Stan, thanks so much for including me in one of your tastings. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, when
Won't be
you
your
put
last
brown
one.
bags on a bottle of wine, and so you do not know the producer, and it just kind of, it's a great way, I think it's a real fair way to evaluate not only what wines you want to buy, but also really what wines you like, what style of wine.
Exactly.
Would you agree?
Yeah. Well, and I like it too because you don't. I don't taste blind when I'm taking my tasting notes, just because for me, I think a producer that is more expensive will get a more critical eye from me than one that's less expensive. Only because I'm expecting that. Like if it's a $50 bottle of wine, I want it to taste like a $50 bottle.
Absolutely.
And in a blind format, you don't have that ability to say, okay, what is the QPR, quality to price ratio? And I never look at a wine by producer anyway. It doesn't really matter to me. What I look at, like all critics, is you're looking at structure, acidity, you're looking at flavor profile, you're looking at balance, you're looking at length of finish. I mean, those are all the things you're looking for. And whether it's a $10 bottle or a $100 bottle, they still have to have all those qualities.
Absolutely.
And the problem is it's much easier to be disappointed at $100 than it is to be disappointed at $10.
Oh, sure it is. Yeah.
So you get somebody charges $100 for a cab, and it shows the same kind of qualities as number 4, where it's just big fruit and no structure. Guess what? It would have got an F. Because,
Sure.
it's $100. They're asking $100 bottle for a bottle of wine.
Yeah, it needs to have all the components.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it has to show the quality for the price. I'm not saying that they're good $100 bottles of wine. I've had them. They're fantastic. I'm not saying that is a mark, but it better be fantastic for me to give away a Benny for it. All right. Much different on the nose.
Yeah.
Way different on the nose.
Right off the bat, Stan, I noticed a difference on my palate in this Merlot compared to the last one. It doesn't have the weightiness. It's a little bit more feminine, I think.
Okay. That's a good word, feminine. I like that.
That's what I pick up, I guess, initially on this.
I'm getting a little warm spice on the nose, which I like a lot. I like that warm spice. And there's almost like a mintiness on the back side of the nose. On this
Interesting. You can talk me into that for sure when you say that.
I got to get you a sliding glass.
Sorry.
That's all right. Don't be sorry.
I'm new at this. Yeah.
No, of course. I should have had the tablecloth
This
out
is the
here.
first time I've been on TV.
No, I'm the one that forgets to put the tablecloth down. It's like check. I got to have a checklist somewhere back behind here. Okay, Stan, tablecloth, glasses, bait bucket. Okay.
Well, regardless,
it's a little more subtle on this one.
yeah,
Definitely.
it is. It's just a little more delicate, I think. I really like the snappy finish on this wine too.
Okay, Mike, you keep them entertained. I'm going to go dump this because I don't want to splash. I got my shirt.
Look at that. Okay.
I'll be right back.
All right. One of the things that's really fun for a guy like me is to be now a sales manager, but for many years a salesperson, and to call on people like Stan that are so passionate about the business. I just really appreciate customers like Stan that care a lot about what we're doing, and it helps drive the business forward in a lot of ways. Our friendship has also been really important to me over the years, not only just because I sell to him, but we have a lot of similar interests, and you know, it's fun to know about how customers that you really care about, how they're doing and what's going on in their life.
Thanks, Mike.
So I'm just throwing that in there.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah, that's all right.
You never know, somebody important might be watching this. You know, I might get another spot on TV someday. Probably not.
Now, I like this wine, and for a lot of reasons. From a retail standpoint, it's got a lot of things going on. It's delicious, it's smooth, but it does, as Mike said, it has this bright element on the back end. It's got good acidity, it's got good balance, and it has a touch of grip, telling you that, hey, I can stand up to a prime rib, but at the same time, I can be delicious.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, this, you know, like my wife walking in, she's really pretty, and then all of a sudden you see her bench press 300 pounds. It's like, where did that come from? You know, it's... Here I got the official stain on my shirt.
Hey, all wine professionals have stains on their shirt.
Well, you're not supposed to wear light color, but this is the first shirt I grabbed. I like this wine. It's a little light on the backside, but you know, I mean, I like it. I think it's a, you know, we're only talking between $14.50 and $13, so even no matter which one it is, it's a good value play. I think it's a very delicious wine, but it has a serious side to it, and I like it. I mean, and the finish is still going. Even though it's a little lighter, I still get the flavors. I get a lot of cherry, a little bit of currant, and you know, just a nice grip to it. I like it.
I think
that's my favorite one so far. Actually,
mine too. I was just going to say that. I think this is this wine right here, number 6. You could take that to a party. You could give it to a friend as a gift. I think it's a very, very nice wine.
Okay, you got to keep that.
I got it.
Your mat down.
Okay, I'm just moving it over so we can get these last 2.
Okay. All right. So now we're on the blends.
Okay.
14 Hands calls theirs Hot to Trot, which many of you probably are aware of. And what does Wild Meadows call theirs?
They call it their Red Beauty.
Red Beauty.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
I'm not familiar with Wild Meadows. This is all new to me. I mean, this is a fairly new label, right?
It is. Yeah. It just rolled out a few months ago.
I did get to see the label. The label's pretty cool with that horse on the front. No doubt they're going after the 14 Hands.
They are competitors. You know, hopefully it'll be a game a little closer than the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You might as well give up the brand.
Competition a little better.
We all like competition, by the way. Now this, you know, this is so weird. This is, I'm just smelling this wine going, this is the 4 and 5 mothership here. I mean,
no, I get a pretty good whiff of oak on that.
Yeah, there's a lot of oak there.
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
I get a lot of tobacco.
Yeah, there is a leatheriness,
Yeah, there's a tobacco kind of, yeah.
going on there.
A lot of currants. I mean, this is just currants all day on the nose. Yeah, this is a pretty dark wine.
Yeah,
this goes into the dark red category. I don't see any kind of a lighter red on the rim too much. I don't know if you guys can see that. It doesn't do you guys a whole lot of good. We're trying our best.
We are.
My props sometimes are ridiculous. I still got the Paisano behind me, and at least I have that. Well, that's got a lot of sweet fruit on it.
Yeah, it does.
It's got almost a date current component to it.
Yeah. I was thinking that too. Fig, you know, that just intenseness.
Yes.
Plummy.
Yep, very plummy. Currant plums, a lot of brambleberry. I get a little blackberry, boysenberry. There's definitely a potpourri of fruit flavors, but it's definitely fruit forward.
Yeah.
This is a jammy. This is like what we call a jammy wine with the spiciness to it. I mean, I'm not totally against this wine because I understand that jammy sells. You will never succeed as a salesperson if you don't understand what customers like. Always get the 80% rule.
Yeah.
I think that this is a 60% wine. I think 60% of my customers will like this, not 80, because it does go to the jammy side, to the dark side, you know, where everybody likes. Not everybody. 60% of the people like they like Smuckers. This you could pour into a thing of Smuckers, and you could spread it on your toast.
Yeah, it's again, it feels to me like, we'll see when we unveil everything, that there's a sameness to a producer, whichever one it is. Maybe that's my guess, and I don't know.
Well, I said this is 4,
soft
5,
and easy.
7.
Yeah.
I think, you know. And the guy said bag it, but don't bag it in any sequential order. You know, just randomly do it. And so I don't know how he did it.
And you trust Pat to do it.
Pat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? I think there's a real trend towards these kinds of red blends right now. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely.
You know, there's authentic red. There's apothic red. There's a lot of different.
Oh yeah, the Bogle Essential Red.
Is it the same type?
Yeah, they're red blends. I mean, it's huge.
It's just an easy, comfortable, not too complex blend that is very popular these days.
Yeah, I mean,
and I would put this wine in that category.
Yeah, it's the sweet red category. Yeah, that's where they put it, and definitely this is it. And these are great wines for, as a wine steward, I would lead, somebody says, well, you know, I haven't really gotten into wine yet. I would lead them to this because this is nice and soft. It has little bit of serious, not much, like watching a comedy routine with Colbert. You can't take them seriously. By the way, that was great. Did you see the pistachio commercial?
I did.
That was, the commercials were terrible for the Super, I thought. Actually, the whole group at our house saw it. But the pistachio one kind of cracked me up. I thought that was a good one.
His personality fit that commercial well.
Great introductory wine. It's not flabby. There's good acidity to it. Not my style, but I never buy wines based on my style. If I did that,
your whole set,
I wouldn't be successful.
Yeah, no, you got to.
You buy
something for everybody.
Yeah, and this is a 60%er. I mean, seriously, 60. If I put this as my pick of the month, some people would kill me. I mean, in a figurative way. They'd say, Stan, what are you doing? But at the same time, there's people I know that would love this wine. Anyway, that being said, I'm going to give it my grade, and we'll move on to the next one. We're down to the last one. Now it's going to be fun to unveil these.
Little rinse.
Yeah, a little rinse. Got to get the jam out of our glass.
Boy.
We don't know if we're going to get more, but there was some serious Smucker action there.
There was.
Smucker with a little bit of acidity. There we go.
Okay.
Number 8.
Well, Stan, cheers. This has been a good time as we taste this last wine here. Oops, here I am.
Ooh, yes, that's all right.
Doing it again.
So this has some stink action, which I really like. This is the first stinky wine we've had tonight. Now,
stink in a good way.
Yeah, well, yeah, all my guys know. I like stink. Because stinky wines never translate into stinky tasting wines.
Okay.
Well, only once.
Yeah.
At one time, seriously, I tasted a wine, smelled like poop, and it tasted like poop.
Oh boy.
And I couldn't get it out of my mouth quick enough. And I remember that I was actually sitting in the bedroom watching TV, and I busted this wine open. It was a sample. I thought, well, okay. I had my notes out ready to take. I smelled it. I go, wow, it smells like poop. It smells like the crapper. And I said, but that's okay. You know, sometimes I can smell it.
Yeah.
And I put it in my mouth, and I mean, I ran to the sink to get it out. It was that bad. And that's the only time.
Oh boy, that's not a wine you want to experience very often.
No. What I find interesting, we talked about the flavor profile of like 3 of these wines being identical, but if that's true, the other wine is definitely alternative flavors. I mean, I'm not getting a beam of commonness from the Cab to the Merlot to the...
Okay.
I'm not.
Yeah. No,
this is the first stinky wine we've smelled.
Yeah.
I'm getting a little bit of licorice. The stink has actually blown off, but I opened these wines and plenty ahead of time because I want to make sure they were all. I'm even getting like a worn leather, like your wallet leather. You know, like you open your wallet and you smell it. You know, a good wallet. You know, not one of those duct tape wallets. Yeah. I'm talking the real leather wallet. The nose is a little not as expressive, but I'm also not getting. I'm understanding that, meaning this has more structure.
Yeah, yeah. It's definitely a different wine than the last one we tried.
Lots of licorice. I mean, I'm getting like a load of black licorice on the nose here. I like the nose. Not, like I said, it's not super expressive, but it's got some interesting things.
So you're noticing, I'm sure, Stan is spitting, I'm swallowing. You know, we're just different that way.
Well, as much wine as I taste, and I think I taste a little bit more than you do.
Yeah, I would. You probably do.
I don't know.
I don't know about on Friday night after work. But,
well, I mean, just at work, on the work basis, and you can see these are all samples I have to try, and here and over there.
Do you need some help?
Now this one is flavorful but not jammy. I mean, I'm getting good fruit. I get like a little cherry, bright cherry action, a little bit of brambleberry, like blackberry, boysenberry. It's got that serious, not serious, but it's got a little grip action on the back end. I think it's a really good wine in the sense that it has that brightness, and that's a commonality I see in some of these, that bright edge.
Yeah. Well, we'll see if we have how well we have determined the difference in body and structure.
Yeah, you never know. That's
right. Yeah.
What I like about this one now, this goes to the 80% category because it's not jammy. It's got good fruit. It's got a little. The finish is simple, like some of these have been, but yet it lingers, which is interesting to me. A little lighter on the finish than I would like to see, but by the same token, it's fresh. It's got a freshness to it that I like.
If there's a similarity between this wine and that second Merlot that we tried, I would say that the one that we both felt like it was the best wine, number 6 that we had tried. It's that freshness, I think, and then maybe it's after that last wine. This comes off as way more feminine as well, like that Merlot did.
But it's still
a little more structure.
Yeah, but like the girl, the really pretty girl that can bench.
Yeah,
300 pounds.
Absolutely. It's not a lightweight wine by any means. No.
In fact, I'm liking this little interesting spiciness. I'm getting almost like a cinnamon imperial meets nutmeg meets cinnamon thing going on. All right, I got it. Okay, number 1 was the first Chardonnay of the bunch. I gave it a C+.
Okay. So, you know, the Chardonnays were hard for me. I liked them both. I gave the first one 88 points.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at 88 points, I gave it a C+. What did you give number 2, just so we know what we're facing?
Actually, I liked number 2 just a little bit better. I gave that 89.
Okay.
A little bit. I had a little less acid on it, though. I'm still, in my opinion, I'm just kind of. I'm just kind of real. I guess I'm saying they're real similar to me.
We agree. I gave a C+ to 1, a B- to 2.
Okay.
So what is number 1? Wild Meadows.
Okay.
So, let's see, where's my, so we're going to zoom in on the Wild Meadows. This is a new label from Precept. Very close. We both thought it was good, but we just gave, obviously, the 14 hands a little bit better. Not much.
Yeah.
He's within
your grade was a little higher on the.
Yep, on number 2.
Pretty close.
Pretty close.
Yeah.
They were pretty close.
Yeah.
So there you go on that one. So number 2, just to show you guys, Mike and I liked it just a little better. It wasn't a huge victory. 14 hands, and just for those of you that don't know the 14 hands label, let's get this right over here. There we go. There we go. 14 hands. They don't call it hot to try this. 14 hands. Chardonnay, Washington State. It rolls in at $14.50, and you said $13 on the Wild Meadows.
Yeah, a little $12. Yeah.
So it's $11.99.
It is. Yeah.
Okay.
I was wrong on that.
Value play. I think you would like either one. You're going to save yourself what, $2.50?
Yeah.
With the Wild Meadows.
Yeah.
So there you go. All right. On number 3 and 4. Oh, there goes the corks. Which is the cab. Let's move 5 and 6 over here. 7 and 8. Okay. So on number 3, I gave it a C+. What did you?
I gave it 89 points.
Okay. So you went 88, and I gave it a C+. You get 89 C+. What'd you do on 4?
Number 4, I gave an 86.
Okay.
Yeah. To me, for a Cabernet, it was a little bit too soft. And just not enough interest in that line for me.
I gave it a C-, so we agree. We gave the same score.
Okay.
I almost gave it a D+, but I thought that might be a little harsh because I know there's some people out there that don't mind that style of wine. So let's see. The better of the two, Mike and I agree, this is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Is the Wild Meadows cab.
Interesting.
So we both liked the Wild Meadows a little better, just to show you the label. And do they call it, it's Washington State also?
It is.
So Washington State means they can source their grapes from anywhere in the state of Washington. That's all that means. They can go to Safeway and buy the Concord grapes. It's true.
They can. That's right.
But they don't.
Yeah.
We know they don't.
They could.
It's funny anyway. So, we both agreed we liked this one a little less. 14 hands. Actually, I would have scored it. Actually, I would say I would almost give this a D. That's how I felt about it. It was kind of flabby. It really didn't represent the cab in the right way. But I can also understand why people might like it. It's a cocktail cab, but not our favorite. We both agreed on that.
Absolutely.
All right. Now, number 5 and 6. That would be the Merlot. I gave 5 a B-. What'd you give 5?
You know, I gave that an 87.
So you went pretty low on that one, huh?
Yeah. I'm feeling like it had an awful lot of the same profile as this wine did. Just soft, nice fruit, not real interesting, but and not offensive in any way, but not as probably not the style of Merlot that I enjoy.
Okay.
Yeah.
I gave it a little bit more of a benefit of the doubt. I thought it had a little more structure than the cab. I thought it was the same producer myself, but I also felt it had enough going on that it was certainly more interesting than the cab by far. So I give it a B minus. So how about 6?
Okay. 6, to that point, up to that point, I felt like number 6 was the best wine we had tried.
Okay, I agreed. I gave it a B. What'd you get?
I gave that 90 points. I really enjoyed that.
Woo!
Yeah, it was. It had nice structure to it. It had very good balance to it. It had good fruit from the beginning to mid palate. A nice finish on it. It wasn't over. There wasn't too much of anything, but there was enough kind of everything, if that makes sense.
Sure.
In my mind.
Sure.
So I really enjoyed that wine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's see what number 5 is. I gave it a B minus. He went a little harsher than I did on that one, but I thought it was much better. I think it's the same producer as the Cab, but I thought it was a better example of one. And there we go, 14 hands. Yeah. Merlot, I think we're right on. It's same exact style. Mike didn't like this one. I liked it a lot better than the Cab as far as structure and all that. So, but guess what? It's it's all about palates.
Yeah.
And subjectivity.
And it's opinion.
And I agreed with Mike. This was the best one we tasted so far in this tasting, and this is the Wild Meadows Merlot 2011. What is it? I'm not saying the thing that this is 2011. What are the cabs? 2011.
And this is the 12.
Oh, so you got the 12 on the Meadow and the Cab, and then Chardonnay. We won't take the time. But just to show you the label on this, and he's saying this is $11.99, $12. Great bottle of wine for that price. This was my favorite so far. So hopefully you can see that. There you go. All right. Okay, now on to the blends.
Okay.
I think we pretty much, Mike and I, figured out the 14 hands formula.
I think so too.
But what I'm liking about the Wild Meadow so far is even though they have a somewhat of a sameness, it's not enough to where you could really say, okay, I know this is that wine. If 14 hands had such a commonality on the palate, I think it would have been harder.
Yeah.
But okay, so 7 and 8. I gave 7 a C plus. What did you do on 7?
Well, I scored that wine an 85.
Woo! He's being harsh.
Well, I'm not. I don't mean to be harsh, but I'm looking for a little more interest than what that wine had.
Okay.
And again, if these guys are any indication, I'm feeling like that's the same kind of profile, same sweet, jammy. Red blend that are very popular these days. Just a little bit different style of wine than what I prefer personally.
Okay.
Yeah.
See now, just to put this in perspective for you guys watching, Mike sells to salesmen. I sell to customers, retail customers. So my palate is a retail palate. His is a wholesale palate. So that's what you're seeing here, which is really
good point.
An interesting thing to watch.
Yeah.
I like this one because I thought even though it was jammy, it had some structure. Certainly the Cab was by far the worst of the bunch. This had enough structure. I would never stack it as my pick because it is too jammy. It's got that smucker action going on. But I thought it was a little above average. It wasn't just an average wine. Anyway. And 8, I thought I gave it the same score I gave the same grade I gave number 6. I gave it a B.
That's what I did.
You did 90 on that one?
89 to 90 on that as well.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So we agree. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm almost willing to bet the Super Bowl that number 7 is 14 hands hot to trot. Oh my goodness. Wouldn't you know? So 14 hands, hot to trot, 2011, which wasn't, by the way, the best vintage ever in Washington State. One thing we have to keep in mind with the Cab is that, there you go. So there it is, 14 hands, hot to trot. This stuff sells like crazy.
Yeah.
And to 60% of my customers that need it's in the sweet red category for sure. So, number 8, I gave it a B. I might have given it a B plus, but I was being a little harsher on the other ends. 2011, There you go, same vintage.
Yeah.
Wild Meadows, Washington State, Red Beauty. There you go, guys. This is the Red Beauty is a good value brand. I am agreeing with Mike on this one. I think Red Beauty is by far showing a more consistent, better quality of wine for the money. It's a great QPR. Yes, we'll do something with that in the store.
Very good.
Absolutely.
Well,
Now you see, we always when we taste, we go somewhere and we taste wine. That's always the final statement. Hey, I'll do something with this in the store, and I get a smile on his face. Oh, good. And other times I go,
yeah.
no, I'm not going to do anything with it.
And I appreciate that about you, Stan. It's honesty, and in all honesty, this was a blind tasting. We did not know what was coming out. So, in this particular case, the brand I represent, came out a lot better.
Oh yeah.
I'm real thrilled to see that because 14 Hands is very, very popular, very well established in the wine market, and rightfully so because they produce a good product for the money that they ask for it. So.
Sure, absolutely. All right.
Cheers, Stan.
Cheers, Mike.
Really fun.
And here's
Thank
to
you.
keeping the snob out of wine. Thanks for joining me, Mike.
Yep.
Till next time. See you later.